Hello and welcome. This is the newsroom for today, Monday, June 21st, 2021. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN and Tarsi TV in Bartica. In the headlines, the Agriculture Minister says the devastation caused by the countrywide floods occurring now is worse than that of the Great Flood of 2005.
This flood has affected almost all the 10 administrative regions in our country.
A teenager dies by suicide after thinking he killed his brother. The Police Complaints Authority says officers ignorant of the Constitution use flimsy excuses to carry out searches and arrest citizens. More than the usual number of cases of mosquito-borne diseases reported in the upper and middle Mazaruni. Armed bandits hijack a minibus after the driver stopped to cool down his bus. And in sport, no Olympic qualification, but athletes impress at the National Senior Championship, and Christopher Griffith wins Father's Day cycling road race. With the news, I'm Neil Marks. We're glad you could join us. A 19-year-old woman was killed after the car she was traveling in crashed into a lamppost at Stewartville, West Coast Demerara on Monday afternoon. The woman, believed to be Venezuelan, has not yet been identified. The driver of the car was reportedly speeding. The woman who died was flung out of the car and into the drain. 3 other persons were hospitalized. A man identified only as Anthony and a woman only so far known as Alexandra are said to be critical, while another woman identified as Kathleen is said to be in a stable condition. They are all under the age of 30. Here are images from the accident, which we warn are graphic and may not be suitable for all audiences.
Wild bite. We get all the bite.
The newsroom will bring you updates on the accident as we get them at Newsroom.gy and on our Facebook, Instagram and Twitter pages. Weeks after an advisor at the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Jairo Mendez Rico, confirmed that the P1 Brazilian variant of the virus that causes COVID-19 was detected in Guyana, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony on Monday said the ministry does not have scientific evidence to confirm this, but it is still a possibility. Speaking on the sidelines of an event, the health minister explained that it is expected that viruses will mutate and spread, but he urged members of the public to get vaccinated, since this will help to protect against the variants.
Because we had sent 10 samples to CARFA, the expectation was that they'd send those reports back to us. The reports that they did submit to us did not have anything about any variant. So that took us quite by surprise when we saw that PAHO was publishing a result that says we had the P1 variant. Now, I mean, in South America, most countries now would have P1 variants circulating. It's just the nature of these mutations. So, but at that time, when it was done, that caught us by surprise.
So do you think it's likely that the P1 variant is here?
I don't have the scientific evidence, but there is that possibility.
The flood situation Guyana faced back in 2005 is nothing compared to what has been experienced this year. This is according to Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa. In an interview with the newsroom on Monday, he said that government will do everything in its power to ensure that the flood-affected Guyanese get back on their feet.
According to a report from the Pan American Health Organization, the 2005 flood situation in Guyana affected more than 70,000 persons in the capital city alone, while 100,000 residents who lived along the east coast were also hit. But according to the Minister of Agriculture, Zulfikar Mustafa, this year's seasonal flooding situation is levels higher than that of 2005. He made these comments during an interview with the newsroom on Monday.
This flood has affected more areas in the country than the 2005 flood. Remember, the 2005 flood was concentrated on the east coast and Georgetown, most of the flood. But this flood has affected almost all the 10 administrative regions in our country. More crops will be destroyed, more livestock will be lost, more persons will be affected.
Because of the destruction seen, the minister said that the government is gearing up to ensure that affected Guyanese are given the necessary help to get back on their feet.
That is why we are preparing to ensure that people will be given help. Both cash crop, rice farmers. When the flood started, we had about 40,000 acres that were sown. and a lot of those have already been lost. Right? I can't give an assessment how many, but it will be lost because those rice have been underwater for a long time. Right? You have a lot in the cane cultivation. Places like Albion and so were underwater for a very long time. Up to now, some areas in Albion, the canes there, the young canes are underwater. So when we do the assessment, those losses will come to bear on us as a nation.
The flood situation has been labeled a Level 2 disaster. A Level 2 event is one in which the national capacity to respond is not overwhelmed, but some external assistance is required. The affected state may or may not declare a disaster. Thus far, Guyana has already received overwhelming support to aid its countrywide flood relief efforts. Reporting for the Newsroom, I am Shikima Day.
An 18-year-old man died by suicide on Sunday night after thinking he had killed his brother. Police reported that the teen and his brother were consuming alcohol during a Father's Day celebration when an argument erupted. The teen dealt his brother a lash to his head with a wood, causing him to fall to the ground in an unconscious state. The teen, believing his brother was dead, became afraid and ran away into the backyard. Family members were able to resuscitate the injured brother, and a search began for the brother who ran away. About half an hour into the search, it was discovered that the teen died by suicide. The delay in the shipment of a batch of the second dose of the Sputnik V vaccine, which are manufactured in Russia, could be due to a surge in the number of new COVID-19 infections being recorded in that country. This is according to Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony, who assured members of the public that the Health Ministry is working assiduously to get these vaccines brought into the country at the earliest. He spoke at the silence of an event on Monday.
Part of the challenge right now is that in Moscow, as you would know from the epi data that is available right now, you would see that there are spikes in Moscow with the Delta variant, and that might be one of the reasons why we are having difficulty in getting the supplies that are needed. Because in Russia they have updated or they have accelerated vaccination of their own population. But we are working to see how fast we can get those second doses in. But just to reiterate that second dose, you can get your second dose between 4 weeks and 12 weeks. So those persons who are expecting their second dose anytime between this time period would be good. So you don't have to just think about just 4 weeks after. Anytime in between 4 weeks to 12 weeks. Once you get it within that time frame, you'll be fine.
The Health Minister also highlighted that with the dosing interval now extended to up to 12 weeks for the Sputnik V vaccine, the Ministry is hopeful of having those vaccines brought into Guyana before that additional 8-week period is completed for the first set of people who require their second shot. When the Newsroom returns, the Police Complaints Authority cautions police ranks against persistent violations of the Constitution, including unlawful arrests and detention of members of the public. This is the Newsroom. The Police Complaints Authority, in its latest report, has once again cautioned police ranks against persistent violations of the Constitution, including the arrest and detention of members of the public for non-arrestable offences and based on unlawful stop and search. The report, which addressed complaints against police ranks for the year 2019, was presented to the National Assembly last week and soon after made public.
Investigations carried out during 2019 have found that the majority of police ranks interviewed were ignorant of the constitutional provisions regarding arrest and stop and search, a report by the Police Complaints Authority noted. According to its author, Justice Retired William Ramlal, in his capacity as chairman of the Police Complaints Authority, it was found that a substantial number of members of the force under investigation openly violate the Constitution in the performance of their duties. He made it clear that the arrest and detention of members of the public for non-arrestable offences and based on unlawful stop and search were both a violation of the Constitution. Justice Ramlal said the violations were not limited to this, but it seemed most prevalent. On the issue of arrests, he said, should ranks continue along this line, it will cause the state to be liable to pay damages and compensation for false imprisonment. In general terms, a non-arrestable offence is one in which the law does not impose a custodial sentence. He said too that even when carrying out stop-and-search exercises and campaigns, it was found that ranks continued to detain persons without reasonable suspicion. Article 1391 of the Constitution makes it clear that the circumstances under which a person can be lawfully arrested, stopped, searched, or detained. Ramlal has recommended that the Guyana Police Force put systems in place for all ranks to be brought up to date with these constitutional provisions. The report also addressed the unlawful invasion of a citizen's home, which oftentimes included search, arrest, and detention. Ramlal said since his appointment in September 2018, all of the complaints investigated in relation to search, arrest, and detention of persons while looking for narcotics yielded no fines and were done on the flimsy excuse that the police have information. None of this information is based on any reasonable suspicion, the report noted. Moreover, it added that ranks were, at an alarming rate, compromising the integrity of the force by falsely utilizing the offences of resisting arrest, disorderly behavior, and assaulting a peace officer to justify an unlawful and unnecessary arrest. With several other infractions cited, the authority believes members of the force must be taught the fundamental rights of the citizen. The authority also reminded that remedies to thwart police excesses were also available.
A man who pulled over on the dark Linden-Suzdijk highway to cool down his overheating bus was relieved of the vehicle and $20,000 in cash by two armed men on Sunday evening. According to police reports, the victim pulled over in the vicinity of Swan Village, Linden-Suzdijk highway at around 9 p.m. 5 minutes later, he saw a dark-colored car pull up behind his minibus and two men exited. The suspects reportedly ran up to the bus and one of the men pulled out a black handgun from his waist and held the driver at gunpoint. He was pulled out of the bus, searched and relieved of $20,000 cash. The men then drove away with the bus, a Toyota Pitbull, bus registration number BWW 1914, value $2.9 million. A report was later made at the Kururu Police Outpost. Investigations are ongoing. Education Minister Priya Manikchand has pledged the government support to ensure that the displaced students who attended the North Wynne-Veldt Secondary School have a venue to sit their Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate exams. The newsroom understands that more than 60 CSEC students will be relocated. Oral examinations scheduled for Monday for some students have been postponed to a later date. The school was gutted by a fire of unknown origin on Saturday last. When the newsroom arrived at the scene, firefighters were already in action attempting to get the blaze under control, but the fire had already engulfed the top flat of the main building, which housed classrooms, science laboratories, along with Guyana's first ever Samsung Smart Classroom.
I want particularly the students of this school to know that we have already begun work, especially the CSEC, 65 CSEC students that are to begin their CSEC in 6 to 7 days, that we've already begun to determine where they're going to write the exams. And we want to commit to them today that they're going to get the full support of the central ministry and the government to make sure they can successfully write these exams. To all the other students, 512 on the register, we will also do what we have to do to make sure those students are not displaced any more than they were during the COVID period and because of this fire. So we will have to place these students. The head teacher is here, the deputy head teacher is here, and other teachers from the school. To the 39 teachers that are here, you too will be supported during this period. This is extremely unfortunate. It is very saddening, actually. Any school that goes up in flames would be a really, really sad thing for us to deal with. But this particular school it's our A-list school. It means that it's a school of very high quality. Students who do very well at Common Entrance or NGSE get placed here. And so we have no choice. This will be a school that is repaired and we will recover from this.
As it continues to battle the negative financial impact brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, Trinidad-based Caribbean Airlines has announced moves to reduce its fleet and cut back on staff. In a statement on Monday, the airline said these steps are being taken to ensure it has a sustainable business model for 2021 and beyond. The airline said these steps include major cost reductions in all areas of the airline's operations, specifically its human resource complement, its fleet and other assets, and its route network. In terms of employees, the airline has determined that 25% of its workforce, or about 450 persons throughout its network, is surplus to its current needs. The company said it will embark on consultation with the employees and other stakeholders with respect to treating with this surplus labour situation. In the same statement, Caribbean Airlines also announced its audited financial results for the first quarter of 2021, recording a loss of $25.7 million and a 75% decline in revenue compared to the same period in 2020. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and the suspension of operation at its main base in Trinidad and Tobago, the airline has seen passenger numbers plummet, the flight numbers reduced to less than 10% of normal operations. The announcement that the borders of Trinidad and Tobago may soon reopen is welcome news for the airline, but all forecasts suggest that the recommencement of travel will not be in the same volumes as they were pre-COVID-19, the airline stated. Put simply, it said passenger demand in the short to medium term is not going to recover sufficiently to support the existing company structure after the reopening of the borders. When the newsroom returns, more than usual cases of mosquito-borne diseases reported in the upper and middle Mazaruni. This is the newsroom. There has been an increase in cases of mosquito-borne diseases in the upper and middle Mazaruni areas of Region 7, and this has prompted health teams to distribute insecticide-treated nets to help safeguard people from becoming infected. This was related by the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, on Monday during his daily COVID-19 update. The minister addressed concerns of an increased prevalence of diseases due to the nationwide flooding.
We have noticed one or two areas where there have been mosquito-borne diseases. So like in the upper and middle Mazaruni, we have had some cases there, more than usual. So we had sent in a team last week, and we have also distributed insecticide impregnated bed nets. We also have a strong campaign using these nets in Region 1, Region 7, Region 9, and of course in Region 8. But this particular area in Mazaruni in Region 7, after we noticed a spike, we made sure that they got nets. We have also seen a couple of cases of dengue. In Region 6 in Blackbush Polder, we have had, to be specific, we have had 3 cases. And so our medical team has been monitoring what's going on there. We haven't had, for the past week, any additional cases. But we have taken the extra precaution of giving them, the residents in that particular area, about 300 insecticide impregnated bed nets. And some of the other flooded areas in Region 6, we have also given them some bed nets. So this is an ongoing process of monitoring, and we'll continue to do so.
Though he did not specifically state what those mosquito-borne illnesses were or which specific illnesses recorded the increase during a previous COVID-19 update in April, the minister had related that malaria was quite prevalent in Region 7. During the update, the minister also related that there has not been a significant outbreak of any waterborne diseases despite the nationwide flooding. The Guyana Agricultural and General Workers Union GAU has welcomed the government's decision to add another $1.5 billion to the sugar industry. The latest support adds to the $10.5 billion already channeled to the industry since the new government took office some 10 months ago. GAU noted in a press release. The union said it is welcome news for an industry which has been starved of capital investment during the term of the coalition and who it appears was intent on suffocating the industry. The union said the need to retool and revitalize the sugar factories and cane fields is important if the industry is to reduce its cost of production and enhance and diversify its revenue base. According to GAU, some funding will be directed to the shuttered Rosehall, Enmore and Skeldon estates as efforts efforts are being made towards their reopening. Expectedly, Rose Hall will commence operations in the second crop of 2022, the union said, noting that Skeldon is likely to resume operations shortly after. Enmore is being geared to become a hub of employment along the east coast of Demerara, and presumably sugar will feature in the new hub at Enmore given the historical ties, availability of skilled labour and the sunk costs incurred in converting several fields for mechanisation, Gao stated. As efforts to ensure that there is an equitable delivery of healthcare services across the country, Director General of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Vishwa Mahadev, has called for rehabilitation services to be readily provided to residents of Region 8 by year end. The Director General made this call on Sunday at the Bookland Gardens, Thomaslands, while delivering the feature address for the launch of Rehab Week.
Director General of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Vishwa Mahadev, while speaking at the launch of the 2021 Rehab Week on Sunday, says that a focus of the Health Ministry is on ensuring that there is an equitable delivery of healthcare services. Cognizant of that focus, he said that rehab services should be provided in those areas where it is not yet provided.
Dr. Fanali, if he sees these pictures or when he sees them, he is going to be pleased. Because one of the things that he said to me personally when I came at the Ministry of Health is that the kind of services that we are offering at or on the coastline, this no less kind of service should be accessible to those persons living in the riverine communities, living in the hinterland, in the far-to-reach communities. And so Dr. Mangar told me that these services are being offered in the villages of Region 9, of Region 1, of Region 7, and I am happy. But we still have to get to Region 8. And so let us make that. I know that you've already got the staff ready to go, but let us make it happen this year. Let us make it happen this year. Before the end of the year, Region 8 also has got to have access to those services.
Importantly, Dr. Mahadev said that these rehabilitation services intersect all other specialties in medicine. Some of these rehabilitation services include physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech-language pathology, behavioral therapy, and cognitive therapy. And he said that each person will need these services at some point in their life. As such, he commended the local rehabilitation team for the work they continue to do. Meanwhile, Director of Disability and Rehabilitation Services, Dr. Aryan Mangar, related that this year, Rehab Week will be observed under the theme Rehabilitation in the Frontline during the COVID-19 pandemic. She said that this team was particularly apt since those who provide rehabilitation services have been on the front line striving to provide patient care.
Our rehab personnel have been working on the front line during COVID-19 and are responsible for maintaining essential services. In these unprecedented times, as you are aware, COVID came, but people did not stop having strokes. People did not stop having their feet amputated. People did not stop having spinal cord injuries. Our kids, with disabilities, the disability didn't go away. Hearing aids, people did not, their hearing didn't come back miraculously. So life went on and we needed to provide essential services.
Dr. Mangar also said that some 1,800 patients who received care at the COVID-19 Intensive Care Unit ICU also received rehabilitation care from her team of rehabilitation workers. Physiotherapist Angelica Holder spoke on the challenges of working in the ICU.
Right? There's so much uncertainty around there. Like sometimes I will be working with a patient and I'm thinking, awesome, you're gonna get better. We're doing so well. I'm gonna see you tomorrow. And then you come into the unit and you hear this patient passed away. And honestly, having to go through that over and over, it's exhausting. And at the time, it was like, am I doing the right thing? Is my work actually paying off? You know, there wasn't much interventions established at this time. You didn't have much information. You didn't know. No one in the world knew. Everyone was just here, just trying to figure it out too. But you know what? What really, really helped was having a team of physios with you. Having someone to inspire you. Having your director go into the unit first. And she set the example.
As part of Rehab Week, the work of these health workers will be honored. It is also expected that through various foreign symposia, more people would become aware of the work done by the local rehabilitation team. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Vishani Raghabir.
When the newsroom returns, the financial weather and bridge reports along with sport.
Welcome back to Newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting us off with some athletics news. The Senior National Athletics Championship wrapped up on Sunday, and while no athlete was able to make the entry standard for next month's Olympic Games, numerous local athletes produced promising performances in both the track and field events. Akeem Green reports.
The trade event was themed by the Athletics Association of Guyana, mainly as an Olympic qualification event, since the cutoff date for entry standard is June 29. However, no Guyanese was able to make any of the entry standards, but there were some lasting impressions. Emmanuel Archibald ran a wind-assisted 10.18 seconds to comfortably win the men's 100-meter final on Friday evening, while on Sunday he won the long jump with the best leap of 7.82 meters. On the distaff side, overseas base Jasmine Abrams clocked 11:37 seconds to win the female title. Daniel Williams looked in sublime form as he returned to the track as he dominated the men's 200-meter final. A 21-year-old Williams, back on the track after injury, produced a silky smooth race in a time of 21.06 seconds to finish ahead of Akeem Stewart 21.35 seconds and Nolex Holder 21.46 seconds. Other impressive performances over the meet came from Shantoba Bright, who won the triple jump with a personal best of 13.53 meters and also the long jump. More so, Arenzi Chance and Aliyah Abrams gave no chance to their nearest rivals as they emphatically won the 400-meter finals. Devon Barrington and Joanna Archer won the 800-meter finals, while the 10K and 5K were split between the young talent of Sir Kennard Hartog and the experienced Cleveland Thomas. President of the Athletics Association of Guyana, Aubrey Hudson, hailed the three-day event as a success and earmarked July as the tentative period for the hosting of the National Youth and Junior Championships. For the newsroom, Akeem Green.
Meanwhile, Aubrey Hudson was re-elected president of the Athletics Association of Guyana for a third consecutive term after the body held its annual general meeting and election of office bearers on Sunday at the National Racquet Center. Here again is Akeem Green.
Hudson won after first Vice President Cheryl Hermanstein conceded after 4 consecutive rounds of voting. They were tied 5-5. Speaking to the media, the president said he's happy for the support of the clubs and he will be a president of all the clubs, all athletes in the country.
First of all, I must say thanks to the clubs that supported me, and I intend to be the president of all clubs, of all athletes in this country. And while there's some bit of growing concern the way how the elections played out, I am still prepared to look forward to working with those people who did not necessarily support me, and hope that they would come to the recognition that moving sports forward in Guyana is going to be a collective effort, and you can't sit on the sideline and wait for elections then to show your face. Running track and field is serious business, and we need to all put our pedal to the metal and make sure that things happen for our sport. Moving forward, as again, we need collaboration, we need more people. Our athletes are basically running ahead of us administrators. There are issues that we need to address in terms of athletes' contracts, athletes' sustenance, and programs of getting our athletes to the elite level, getting them European tours, and that kind of stuff. So unless we are in that realm, We're going to continue to do well at junior Carifta and junior championships around the world. But when it comes to dealing with our elite athletes, we're going to run into trouble.
The president said that unless they address those issues, they will continue to dominate at the junior levels, but not to the smooth transition to the elite level. The other elected executives were retired Colonel Paul Arthur as the second vice president, Dwayne Carter as treasurer, Elton Bullers as assistant treasurer. The committee members are Keith Campbell, Lyndon Phillips, Trevon Williams, Nell Stanton, and Major Tyrone Smith. The secretary and assistant secretary are appointed by the executive and is expected at the first statutory meeting that should be done. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
Cricket news now. Keshav Maharaj took a hat-trick to help South Africa complete their first series win away from home in more than 4 years since they beat New Zealand in March 2017. Maharaj is only the second South African to take a test hat-trick and put South Africa's result beyond doubt with a triple strike in the morning session. They sealed the 2-0 result 33 minutes before tea. This is also South Africa's first series win on the road under Mark Boucher and the second in 4 series on Boucher's time in charge since December 2019. After setting West Indies 324 to win the second test and square the series, South Africa's attack chipped away at their lineup and rarely allowed a batter to settle. Kagiso Rabada took the first 3 wickets before Maharaj magic came in the 37th over, his 8th of the day, when he sent back Kieran Powell for 51, Jason Holder and Joshua De Silva of successful deliveries. With Roston Chase unable to bat because of a quad injury, South Africa only needed 9 wickets to win the match, with Maharaj finishing with his 7th 5-wicket haul of his test career. As for West Indies, they have not won any of their last 3 home series. Cycling news now. Christopher Griffith led Team Evolution's dominance on Sunday last when the annual Father's Day road race was held in the West Demerara roadways. Though several leading riders were absent, the race, which was held mostly in rain, was very competitive. Team Evolution riders were outstanding in the road race, sponsored by Banks DIH Limited through the Powerade energy drink brand. Christopher Griffith won the senior race from Schooner to Parika and back to the start point for the finish in a time of 1 hour, 41 minutes, 36 seconds. Griffith's Team Evolution's teammate Stephen Finance took second, followed by Curtis Day, Walter Grant Stewart, Paul de Nobrega, and Alex Mendez. Finance was the leading rider of the Masters category, with Grant Stewart taking second and Mendez third. In the female division, which was contested on a shorter distance, Susan Hamilton won in 1 hour, 12 minutes, 14 seconds. Clavicia Spencer finished in second position.
I'm really a morning person, but with the rain falling every morning, can't really get to do anything. So the couple morning that rain and fall, I get to put in a little mileage, do some efforts. And I come out successfully today with the little I have. The rain they really bother me. It kind of just comfort me more, cool me down, you know, make me more comfortable, sit, stay out the breeze, let the guys work. And then I decide to try riding out. Every time I went, the guys them seeing me as a hard guy to get rid of, so they keep following me all the time. But in the end, I still try, and I get a break to go by myself and come to the line.
The race, the peloton is a bit small, smaller than usual, and that is because a lot of the best guys, the cream of the crop, are now racing in the States. But I found it was a very fast race, you know, bearing that in mind. So the local guys still went down to Parika at a very, very good pace. Coming back up, the wind was quite heavy. But I think for Evolution, we were lucky because we had numbers. We had a largish team, and our game plan played nicely into our hands, and we came out victorious.
Well, I do a lot of training, so I worked hard to be this fit to be able to win the race, and I'm happy I was able to accomplish that today. It's a lot of hard work, but if you put it in, you can make it happen. One thing I'm very happy about is I was able to keep up with the men until my turn back point. So keeping up with them was a challenge, but I'm able to do it, and I'm happy about that. Coming back, I was on my own, and so the weather and the wind definitely played a factor in that. But I was able to make it back first.
Reporting for Newsroom, I'm Avinash Ramzan. And India and New Zealand were frustrated by the weather again as another day of the World Test Championship final was completely washed out by rain. Persistent rain hung around throughout the 4th day in Southampton until the abandonment came just in the afternoon session. Only 141.1 overs have been possible so far, with New Zealand currently 101 for 2, trailing India by 116 runs. A reserve 6th day is in place, so 2 days remain, but a draw is now the clear favourite for the inaugural final. Were that to happen, India and New Zealand would be crowned joint winners and would share the £1.7 million prize money pot. The forecast is at least much improved for the next 2 days. When play does restart, New Zealand captain Kane Williamson will be 12 not out, while Ross Taylor is yet to score, having faced 2 balls before bad light curtailed day 3. New Zealand's best hope of victory would be to bat once, going beyond India's first innings total of 217, and then bowl out their opponents out on the final day. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page, and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. See you next time.